even if all we say is save the date, more registration information to come. Every time you post an event, it goes out to all 127 members. So it's free advertising, which is really great. So that's it for my update. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Looks like Una has a question.
All right, need to go into the chat area here. How many of the 127 are non-Rotarians? So I wish I would have been more thoughtful when people registered by putting a question that said, what Rotary Club are you from? Midway, I realized Rotarians weren't identifying that. So we were up to about 80 members at the point at which I asked that question. I mean, if I took a good guess and I really talked this up at PETS and MA PETS, I would say there's about 10 clubs that are engaged on that website, and I made designees of those clubs event planners so they could post their events.
I would say you could ask Melissa to cross-reference your list with our membership list. And
all right, great idea.
It would be interesting to know how many of them are non-Rotarians participating in our stuff.
Great, I'll do that.
When you launched that initially, there were what, 70 members within the first 45 days?
Yes, and you know, I've been part of a number of meetup groups, so I noticed people I was connected with on Meetup, and when they saw my name, automatically joined with culinary meetups and things like that. But yes, that's right. Within a couple of weeks, it was about 70.
So I say that only to say most of our club members didn't join. So most of those folks
You're right.
would have been non-Rotarians. Yeah. Cool. All right. Is there any other questions for Juliet or for Greg at this moment? All right. Hearing none. The next thing on my agenda was just to roll through a few of the, let's see if I can pop this up on the screen real quick. Roll through a few of the items that are happening around the district. So first of all, we lost and then gained. Our treasurer is retiring, as many of you know, and has been talked about for quite a while. Well, we finally found somebody who was willing to take on the role. So this gentleman, Chris, out of the Harrisburg Club, has already had a meeting with Steve and with Melissa. The transition has occurred. And we're super excited. He's a young gentleman, and he's a kind of newer to Rotary, actually. But Rotary, I believe, is in his family and his background. So he's very excited about being our treasurer, and so we're very excited to have him. So I'm going to have him come to the next PDG event if I can, and ask him to give a report on where he is right now. I think he's learning. So, and then rolling through maybe some of the other items that we have. So I'm in the process of kind of going through the club visits. I'm probably through, not probably, I am through about half of them at this point. And I would say an estimated 20 to 30% are live, and the rest are via Zoom. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to Littlestown at, oh God, 30 in the morning to meet with them. But I will tell you that I have found that the Zoom meetings are actually working out very well. I'm actually enjoying getting to see and meet, especially with the smaller clubs, and having live conversations with people about their situation. It's been very gratifying and educational for me. So the meetings are moving forward. And what I'm doing is simply calling the club presidents about a week before their scheduled meeting to find out how they're meeting and how they'd like to meet or have me come. We're going to be doing some, tomorrow morning, for example, is going to be a live meeting, but I've asked them to have a laptop there so that the people who want to come via Zoom can also be there. So we'll sit the laptop in front of me, and then I'll talk to the group while the Zoom is running. We're going to try to run it as a hybrid. We'll see how that goes. There, we have created a communication committee within the district, headed by Patricia Green. Patricia was with the Littlestown Club, is now with the Passport Club, and she's a PR specialist by trade. And so she's volunteered to help put that together. The idea here is that, you know, any organization one of its foundation pillars is communication. So we need to be on purpose about our external and internal communication. How we go about it, what the procedures are, what gets put out when, our social media presence, all of it. And so she'd like to build a committee of maybe a half a dozen folks from around the district, but she'd also like to have a representative from each club as a liaison to the committee so that information from that club will flow up to the communication committee, who will then put the information out to the district and to the world. And also in the reverse, the committee will push back information that the district wants the clubs to have to the liaison so that they can push it through to their club. So again, attempting to enhance the level of communication and maybe break down some of the silos around some of the clubs. And so Patricia is very exciting. If you've ever met her, she's a very smart, it's funny, the word I'm looking for has to do with her ability to communicate. She's a strong communicator. So I'm very much looking forward to what she's going to do with that. We've talked about the safety committee. We are now about to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. That was something that the district governor line felt like it was time to do. And so we are looking for people who would like to be involved in that committee. And the people who would like to be involved in that committee will select their own leadership. We have a couple of folks who have already stuck their hand in the air. And I do have I am talking about these things at each one of my club visits and then receiving individual phone calls or emails back from folks periodically who are interested in getting engaged. So I'm excited about that particular committee as well. Julia, can you do me a favor and monitor the chat to make sure I'm not missing any questions as they pop up? Okay, so moving on. The next thing we want to talk about real quick is the monthly Zoom-based developmental sessions. I started with calling them monthly trainings. Una took that to a new level, and as our trainer, she's done a fantastic job of putting these together. Una, do you want to talk about these for just a moment?
Sure. I've just used the alliteration to call them district development sessions, and we started in July, right at the very beginning of John's term. I gave the first presentation with a co-facilitator, Joe Robinson of the Martin Luther King Leadership Development Institute, on the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our August program featured Kevin Engel on membership. Our September program featured a representative from Club Runner, and I will be facilitating the October session on fundraising. And then we've got November and December on district grants and global grants with John Cram giving an overview on the foundation in front of each one. So we're scheduled up throughout the rest of the year. They're the second Tuesday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. on Zoom. They've been attended by anywhere from 50 to 75 people. I don't think we had more than 75 on any of the calls. John, correct me if I'm wrong, but well attended.
Extremely well attended, yeah. And Una's done, as you can imagine, a fantastic job with the trainings. I'm very much looking forward to the fundraising. Many of the clubs have been asking for that kind of information as I've been talking to them. So I think that one will be very well attended as well.
Do you want me to speak about fundraising on that note? Or,
yeah, please. No, go right ahead. Thank you.
Just because it relates to that, but we're working on a fundraiser on Polio Awareness Day, October 24th. I apologize that it's on the same day as the Rotary Leadership Institute, but we're trying to appeal to a separate audience and get some bike riders to join together at the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail, where many of you remember Ra Cligg, who spearheaded the comfort station at the trailhead at Shippensburg. So working with the Rotary Club of Shippensburg, we're doing a biking fundraiser to ride to eradicate polio. We're hoping to have at least 50 people participate, and all the proceeds will be donated to the Polio Plus campaign.
So fantastic idea, and I think we're going to have a great turnout for that. in addition to, well, we'll talk about polio fundraisers after that. Una, was there anything else that you had to talk about this evening, since we have you?
I just wanted to make sure that John Cram understands these are bicycles, not motorized bikes.
I was going to
Now,
ask.
see, that's wrong. That's just plain wrong.
I was going to ask if I could get on my stationary bike in the basement and maybe do a little pedaling from there. All right, so next on our list is the newly created leadership calls. So, you know, with COVID, with Zoom, with so much going on, you know, and again, with communication being a theme this year, one of the things that we created was a monthly leadership call where we invite, for the first half hour, the district governor line. The second hour are the AGs with the district governor line. And the third hour, or the second and a half hour, is the club presidents and their president-elects, which are, they're all invited to come. And we spend some time going over what happened, what's happening, and what's about to happen in the district, and then breaking up into their groups and going over what's important to them. And we have found and had positive feedback from these over the last several months. And I invite you as past district governors to join us on that call if you would like. Each month I have a special speaker for 10 minutes on a particular topic of interest, something that's coming up. And so if you'd like to speak on a particular topic, you can let me know via email and we will schedule you in. The next is a very exciting piece for me, and that is the Passport Club. We have established a new club in the district this year. It's called the Passport Club. The Passport Club is designed for people, it was actually initiated prior to COVID, and designed for people who want to be partially online and partially visiting other clubs throughout the district to learn about their service and to be more of a regionally based Rotarian as opposed to a local club based. And so we have initiated the Passport Club with 22 members to start out. And some of those folks are brand new to Rotary, including my wife, who I finally got to join Rotary. And also people like Tracy Jones, who is just a phenomenal national, if not international speaker after her father, who was an international speaker. And Tracy, the only way Tracy could join Rotary is through something like this facility. And so if half to maybe 60% of our members are brand new Rotarians, the other 40% are Rotarians who were thinking of leaving Rotary and stayed now because they can stay through the Passport Club. Some of these Rotarians can no longer leave where they're living, their facilities. And so instead of not being able to come to lunch and not feeling like they're being part of Rotary, they can engage in this kind of a concept. There's lots of reasons, you know, 1.7 million or 1.2 million Rotarians right now. And we've had 1.2 million people join Rotary over the last 7 years, which means, as Una outlined when she was district governor and asked me to take a look at for her, a safety net to try and keep people from leaving Rotary. And so the Passport Club is in part doing that. Their regular meetings are the first and third Tuesdays of the month. You are all welcome, in fact, encouraged to join us. They would love to meet. Some of these new Rotarians are really looking to meet, and some of them are very young. Some of them are not, but they would all love to meet some of you and maybe hear some of your stories. Again, I'm having special guests there on a different meeting by meeting basis to help them learn about the basics of Rotary before they begin to go out and visit clubs. They are going to have a charter night. It's scheduled already for November 17th. We would very much love all of you to join us. That's going to be a virtual event. More information to come on that. And I just want to let you know that our own Melissa Kopp-Smith now, or hyphen Smith, is the president of the Passport Club. I don't know if many of you knew, but Melissa was not a Rotarian until this year, and she joined Rotary through the Passport Club. And volunteered. I didn't twist her arm very much at all to make that happen. So, and then volunteered to be president. Any questions on any of that? All right. Hearing none, one of the other things that we have done is something called the Speakers Bureau. I would encourage all of you in your particular areas of strength, if you would like to visit clubs. Many of the clubs around the district, as you may remember, struggle for speakers. They would love to have people come and speak with them about their area of passion. And so we've created a speakers bureau on the website, which is a listing of anyone who is interested and willing to speak to the 42 clubs. It lists your name, your contact information, your topic, and a little bit about what that talk is going to be about, so that these presidents or these program directors can actually go on there and pick them out and come and visit, have you come and visit. So the Speakers Bureau is on our website currently. Many of you may have seen the governor's vlog. So there's no way on God's green earth that I could possibly do as well as Patty did in authoring articles and his ability to write. And so I've decided to do videos instead, and that's kind of in tongue-in-cheek, as it were. I really wanted to, again, enhance our communications, and so 10-minute vlogs with people of interest, people of passion, people around the district, to try and educate those who are interested. So my very first one was with Jill Tenney. She's the new chair of the Youth Exchange Committee, super high energy teacher and a beautiful person. And so I've done probably a dozen of these so far. We've posted maybe 9 or 10 of them, trying to post them on a somewhat regular basis. And again, the purpose is to share out. I did one with Alden Cunningham, talk a little bit about his history with Rotary and his involvement with RMB and also with the awards committee. That one comes out in about a week or so. And so if you know of anything that's happening in the clubs, if they have a special project that they're working on, or they have something they want to share out, I would love to do a 10-minute vlog with them. It's very easy. We get on a Zoom, I record, and it comes across, pretty well. I've gotten some pretty positive feedback. I'd love to get some from you. Foundation update. John Cram, would you like to take the microphone away from me for a minute and tell us what's happening with the foundation?
Would love to. I'm going to try and share a screen. John, you need to unshare. Oh, great. Okay. Is that showing?
Yes, it is.
Monthly contribution report. This is as of the end of August. The reason being is that September's data is not yet available. And it lists all of the clubs alphabetically, number of members, what their annual goal is. It's telling that most of our clubs do not set an annual fund goal. You can see their average annual fund per capita. And then there's a bunch of other columns that I still haven't quite figured out what they do. It's still premature. This has July and August data in it. So things typically pick up toward the end of the year. Any questions on this? You can see any special clubs you want to see. It doesn't look like we have more than a handful of clubs that set goals this year. Harrisburg jumped in there. Way to go, Harrisburg. Same with E-Town. Excellent. Any questions on this? There being none. Last week we had the zone, or the 2 zone meetings online. It was good. They announced some of the winners of donations to the annual fund. In zone 32, 7390 came in second in total amount donated to the foundation. I think that's commendable, and I think most credit for that goes to Kevin Cogan. Any questions on that? And I think finally, we are going to have a revamped grants qualification training. And Una's already told you about it. It's going to be on 2 different days, the 9th of November, and is it the 14th of December, Una? I believe it's the 14th.
Yeah, the second Tuesday.
Okay. On day 1, we're going to have an overview, and then Dr. Amy's going to talk about club funds or club grants. And then the following month, Dr. Bob will talk about global grants. There's a whole lot of stuff that's changed in that. So that's going to be important. We encourage each club to have at least one person at both meetings. Each of the major areas will have questions that the person has to answer in order to get credit. And we're in the middle of setting that up. This will all be by Zoom. If I can figure out recording, it will be recorded. Any questions? That's my report, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, sir. I think we can all agree that the $1 Million Journey was a combination of you and PDG, Kevin. So thank you very much for everything you did to make that happen. A lot of people are going to be better off because of all that work. Next up is the foundation training we talked about. John May. I don't know if I saw John May on the call. He said he was going to be here, but I don't see him. So John is spearheaded something called the Polio Plus Society. You've heard of the Paul Harris Society, of course, where we promise to give $1,000 a year to the foundation. The Polio Plus Society for $73.90 is a promise to give $100 to polio every year or more until polio is eradicated from the face of the earth. And so in our particular situation, I wish I'd come up with this idea, but I stole it while I was at the International Convention. Other districts who have done this have found that they have raised 20% of their district have become members in the very first year. And so, of course, we've set a goal to make 30% of our members join over the first year because we don't want to be just like everybody else. And if that were to happen, that would be over 600 people who would commit over $100 every year until the eradication of polio. And so we're very excited. We're underway. We have 38 people who have already signed up. You can sign up. Your commitment is simply your word. We're being Rotarian about it. We're not verifying that you did it. On the website, you can go right to the form and click on the form, fill it out, and that's your commitment to give $100 a year to Polio Plus. You will then receive a pin and the thanks of a grateful district. The pin will be sent to your president, excuse me, to be presented at a future meeting. Any questions on that? John did a great job. PDG John May did a nice job of tracking down the pins. They're very cool looking. I'll show you one in a little bit. Okay, next we're going to do Kevin Kogan with the 72 Plus initiative. Kevin?
Okay, thank you, Governor John. First, a shout out to Hector, actually to Hector's wife. I've been working on a project with Ecuador, which put me in touch with the colonel from the Army War College from Ecuador this year. And I said, you got to find the Marisol's Ecuadorian restaurant in Harrisburg. I got a report back from him yesterday, and he said it was absolutely excellent. So Hector, thank Marisol for her great relationship.
Please tomorrow.
Yeah, did you get a chance to meet him? No. Okay.
Yes. I met Saturday.
Oh, good. Okay, super. I'm glad you did. Okay,
Thank you so much. Yes.
John Cram mentioned that we did the $1 Million Dinner last year, which became a $1 Million Journey, which in fact netted about $1.7 million overall. Some in bequests, so we see that right away. But participation, even though the goal the amount received exceeded our goal, it was from a relatively few number of Rotarians, about 40, which is great, and they met that challenge, and we should all be thankful for that. So I was asked, what are we going to do next year? We're going to do another dinner. And I thought about it, and I said, well, maybe not another dinner or not even another $1 Million Journey. It's kind of like squeezing the turnip. I said, but I'm all truth and lending here. I'm turning 72 in November, and I'm a little bit versed in the tax law. And so it dawned on me, based on some demographics I got last year as we started and we started to put together the $1 Million Journey, how can we leverage the age demographic in our district? So that prompted me to call this the 72 plus initiative. And the byline at the bottom says a tax efficient way, and I should put for Rotarians age 72 and older to give to the Rotary Foundation. So next slide, John. Okay, so if you look at the demographics that we got from Amanda Lawson last year, and a pretty good estimates, we have in our district, or did last year when we started the $1 Million Journey, 845 Rotarians over the age of 66, 769 of which were not major donors or bequest society members. And then from that group, age 70 plus, 625, or about 75% of the 845, were age 70 plus and over. Also 564 not major donors or bequest society members. So I think we can make the assumption that there's approximately 600 Rotarians in our district that are nearly 72 years of age or older, and that's a magic number. Next slide. There's something called a Secure Act. It's an act which was made permanent by the U.S. Congress, became law December 20th, 2019. The Secure Act actually moved the mandatory, required mandatory deduction from IRAs from 70 and a half to 72. So the law did that. The 70 and a half age was part of the law, which was not permanent, that was enacted back in 2015, I believe. And just as an aside, there is no RMD. If you have a traditional IRA, there's no required mandatory deduction from your IRA in 2020 due to the pandemic. So we're not behind. In fact, if we launch this initiative, it'll be right on target for January 2021 and beyond. So RMDs, the amount of money you have to take out of your IRA, and I have a traditional IRA. When I turned 70 and a half, before the law extended it to 72, for the last 2 years, I personally have had to take a certain amount of money out of my traditional IRA. This is not part of Roth IRAs. So make the distinction between traditional and Roth, but most people in this age demographic probably have a traditional IRA, and I'm guessing. So that the computation, how much you have to take out, depends really on how much money you have in and how many more years you are expected to live. And so your tax administrator, your bank or your tax accountant, excuse me, your bank or maybe your brokerage will tell you how much you have to take out, required by law. The penalty for not taking out that amount, by the way, is 50% of what was supposed to come out. So it's really, really heavy penalty. You do want to take it out. The RMDs are taxable at your marginal tax rate, usually for most of us between 25 and 33%, depending upon your marginal tax rate. So that kind of sets the stage why the age 72 is so important, because it goes back to now the permanent law of the Secure Act, taking RMDs from traditional IRAs. Next slide. Okay, so qualified charitable deductions. These are charities, usually 501c3s, that you are allowed to give money to because they are charities. And you can just think of churches, the Rotary Foundation, muscular dystrophy, the Red Cross, and there's, I don't know, I think that PDG Janice could tell me there's probably thousands of 501c3s that you can give to. So QCDs, or qualified charitable deductions, avoid the tax on the required minimum deduction. How you do that? Well, you simply, and you're limited, by the way, to $100,000 per spouse per year. If you're not married, $100,000 for your spouse. Could also give another $100,000 from his or her IRA. IRAs are not joint. They are specifically individual. And the QCDs must be made directly by your IRA administrator to the charity in order to avoid a tax. So therefore, I couldn't say I had to take $5,000 out of my traditional IRA as a required minimum deduction. I cannot just take the $5,000 out and then give it to the foundation, Rotary Foundation, or $1,000 to any charity I wanted to, up to $100,000. Because once I take possession of that money coming out of the IRA, it is a taxable event. But if your administrator of your IRA gives it directly to the charity, then there is no tax. So 100% of your giving can be, from mandatory deduction can be taken from your IRA without any tax consequence. You can send the QCDs to as many charities as desired, up to $100,000 per year. So if you had 100 charities, you want to give them all $1,000, you can do that. This as long as the total giving to all the charities under the QCDs does not exceed $100,000. The Rotary Foundation, of course, can be one of those charities. Next slide. So I'll give an example. If you have an RMD and you're not using a qualified charitable deduction, let's say you want to give $1,000 to, or take $1,000 out, say you're required to take $1,000 out, then maybe you're taxed at 33%. That gives you a net of $667 to give to the charity. Or conversely, if I want to give $1,000 to a charity, then I would have to take $1,500 of my required minimum deduction, subtract $500 in taxes, and I have a net of $1,000 to give to the charity. That is not very tax efficient. That's not a very efficient use of your money, which you have earned over the course of your lifetime giving to the traditional IRA. Rather, an RMD with a QCD, qualified charitable deduction, if I take $1,000, say I had to take $1,000 out, but I inform my broker or my banker who holds my IRA, I say, give that $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation, the full amount goes to the charity. I've never had $1 taxed and essentially have saved $500 of my money from the IRA for further disbursement to other places, or to take the remainder as cash if you needed to. So the new law, standard deduction, the new tax law rather, standard deduction, as you may know, for seniors is about $26,000 for married people. As you also probably know, and maybe not, there's a limitation on how much of state and local taxes you can add to that amount to get over the $26,000 hurdle, so it becomes efficient, or shouldn't even say efficient, it becomes possible to itemize deductions. So $26,000 for married people is a pretty high bar for giving to charity and to your taxes. So why try to think that your deduction to the charity would be added to that itemized deduction, when in fact you don't have to itemize at all? Just take the $26,000 standard deduction and use the money from your RMD directly to the charity of choice. So you kind of get two benefits for one. I hope that's clear, and maybe not, but I can explain that further. Okay, so what's the goal of the 72 Plus initiative? The goal is to dramatically increase District 7390 donations to the foundation. And if we were to ask our 72 age, 72 and older demographic to allocate maybe just say $1,000 or any amount as a qualified charitable deduction from the RMD, that would go a long way. If the 600, the assumption of 600 Rotarians who are age 72 or over in our district is correct, that would generate, believe it or not, at $1,000 per, $600,000 to the Rotary Foundation just from that demographic. And if you were to add our normal annual district giving in our district of about another $300,000, we are giving, or could give potentially, $1 million a year without having to have a dinner every year to the Rotary Foundation. Some might want to give more than $1,000, some less, doesn't matter. But hitting that demographic for these reasons might be a way we could stimulate giving to the foundation. We could dramatically increase Paul Harris Society members. So if you were to sign up and say, okay, I'll give $1,000 a year every year for my required minimum distribution and as a QCD, then that person becomes a Paul Harris Society member. And in fact, I'll just say that I have done it that way. Dramatically will increase our major donors. Another maybe 500 of those will become major donors faster than maybe currently, since the number of major donors that I showed on my first slide or second slide is rather low compared to the 500 and some odd that are not major donors or Paul Harris Society members. So that's on the last slide. Would say that senior people, and I'm one, and maybe some of you out there, I think some of you are, except for the ladies on this call, the Rotary Foundation may be the foundation's greatest asset. So I'm presenting this tonight just to get a feedback from those on this call who think that maybe this is worth pursuing. My intention is to build a trifold and have club foundation chairs to pass these out to that demographic in their clubs. No sense making copies that are for the 45-year-olds. Doesn't make any sense. This specifically targets the 72+ people, and that's my presentation for this evening. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate it. If there are questions, they certainly know how to get a hold of you, right? And you're going to put together a trifold.
So, yeah, and some feedback, and you know, I need to fine tune this a little better and condense it to a trifold, maybe with the last 2 pages of tear off, where you actually is in fact a directive to give to your broker. That's just put it in the envelope, and it's all said and done for the Rotary Foundation, and you just sign your name, and it's a done deal. Because that's about as simple as it is. I just told my broker, these are the charities I want to give to. I gave them several on the same sheet of paper, signed it, gave the addresses for the charities, and it's done. That's their job. It's really simple.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Very excited about that.
Kevin,
Yes.
one comment, because this is what I do for a living. One of the problems that we frequently incur with our clients that want to do this is we have to have the good address for the charity, because the money has to go right from the broker to the charity. It can't go to the client first. So it's very important that we put Rotary Foundation's address on there.
Yes, and I think that's what I intended on this. You know, if you think of a trifold, you know, on the third sheet, if you will, when you open it up, that'll be the tear off. You know, not perforated necessarily, but dashed lines, and it'll be very specific. With I direct you to give X amount of dollars from my account, my IRA account number, blah blah blah, to the Rotary Foundation, Chicago, blah blah blah, Illinois. Sign it, date it, put it in an envelope, mail it to your broker, and you're absolutely correct. It's got to be correct to do it. Thank you very much, Greg.
May I make a comment on that?
Yes, John.
We've been doing this for several years, and we find out 2 things. Number one, you must send a letter to the charity that you're donating to. Many times, the charity will get a check from BNY Mellon or wherever, and they don't know where it came from. And so they will not send you a receipt. And you've got to have that receipt for your tax record. So send a note to the Rotary Foundation or wherever you're sending your money to expect a check from your bank in the amount of such and such. And it works very efficiently.
Thank you, John, and thanks for your past participation. I think there's probably more than one person on this call who has in fact been doing it this way. It's not something really new, but the thing that is new this year is that the age has been raised to 72, not 70.5 for the required deduction. You can certainly give money under the QCD if you're younger, but when you start to be required to take that deduction, that's when you start to do a little better tax planning, typically.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, John. There was a question about the number of cases that are currently out there. I will tell you, I don't have that number. And last we had 118 new cases of wild polio virus, according to PDG John Cram. All right, very good. So moving on to the next topic, I believe is Hector. If you're available, Hector, we're talking about RLI and the 2020 Council on Resolutions, if you have anything that you'd like to share.
John, if we have a minute, does everybody know that Nigeria was declared polio free? That's a very important thing because they were lagging behind for so many years.
Yeah, that was a hello, Hector.
Yes, go ahead, John. Finish, John.
Okay, no, I was going to say, yes, John, we've talked about that with many of the clubs as I go around to talk to them. I'm assuming that the PDGs on this call knew that. We did put a note out to the entire district, and it's on the district website and Facebook page, but that is, it's big information. Hector, if you can spend a minute and just talk about RLI for us, that'd be great.
Yes, two things. One is RLI is virtual, is October the 24th. I just attended this last Saturday, RLI, who was a pilot, tried to see how RLI is going to be doing, and that was fantastic. That was a lot of participation, very well received, a lot of discussions. Looks like virtual is going to be phenomenal. So I would like all of you to invite the members of your clubs and participate in this virtual RLI October 24 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's a break during lunchtime for at least 30 minutes. That's what I saw in this pilot, and we expect to have something similar here. They had prepared very well. There are some lessons that were learned and were shared, but we are going to be doing hopefully even better learning from those lessons from the first RLI that just happened last week. And again, always is the 24th of October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be hopefully all the parts, 1, 2, and 3. And the graduate level this year is diversity and public speaking. I think the first time in the morning is diversity. The second portion of the afternoon is public speaking.
Thank you, Hector. And there's a question in the chat asking if RLI will ever be offered on demand.
I am not sure about that. I have not heard yet, but I think they are recording the sessions and probably people can go back. I will check. I cannot ensure that if we are recording all the sessions and all are going to be ready, but all the materials, all the chat, people have requests that are going to be in RLI, because that was some of the questions that I heard in the first RLI virtual that we just had last week.
John, I could respond to that as well. They are trying to create about 12 meeting dates that will be available with the absence of any geographical boundaries. So it won't necessarily be RLI on demand, but people from any district can register for any RLI event once they publish those dates for the year.
All right,
Yeah, I mean, I posed the question, and one reason why I bring it up is that's a really long time to be online, 5 hours. I've done it in other forums, and it's just a challenge. So on demand would be great.
It was really difficult for the leadership of RLI NEA to agree to go virtual, and I think it would be, I don't know that they would go for an on-demand format when they're trying to keep as much personal interaction as possible, even in an online format.
All right, thank you very much. I see that PDG John May has joined us. John, welcome.
Thanks.
John, we've already talked about the Polio Plus Society. We told them that we have, I think we're up to 38 members so far. Is there anything that you'd like to share regarding that?
Nothing other. I'm going to send an email out to Rotarians in October, trying to get more to join and kind of tying in with World Polio Day.
Thank you very much.
John, just a reminder from the Council of Legislation that we have until December 31st to submit any proposal of enactment for the Council of Legislation on 2022. Is the deadline December 31st. So anyone who is interested or exploring some opportunities to update the constitutional documents or the bylaws already in the national, the time is December 31st. And the Council on Resolutions are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. I think we are going to be receiving materials this week and next week, and then the voting usually happens in October. I will provide any information as soon as I receive. Thank you, John. Thank you, DG, John.
Thank you, Hector. Would you consider maybe writing a short article for the newsletter to let all the Rotarians in the district know about that deadline?
Yes, we did a couple months ago, probably 1.5 to 2 months ago. We can certainly update that and send another newsletter. So, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
We lost you, John. You're muted, John.
There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so PDG Janice Black, would you like to talk a little bit about the Teacher Impact Awards?
Hi. Did you say you wanted me to talk, John? I couldn't hear you.
Yes, ma'am. If you could talk for a minute
Okay,
about
sure.
the Teacher Impact
Thank
Awards.
you. Teacher Impact Awards went through some changes due to COVID. This year, the awards were given, the teachers were notified, and WITF did do the videos. In fact, I think they might just be finishing up the videos with the teachers, and then they're going to start showing them on Channel 6, which is WITF, over, I guess, from now until Christmas, off and on. And then we'll start the process of allowing people to nominate teachers for 2021. And we will have the committee meet and choose winners for 2021. And then we're planning on having the event, hopefully, in May. And then all of the teachers from 2020 and 2021 will be there to be honored in person. But the teachers who are chosen in 2021 will not be identified to the public until the dinner. So there is going to be some, it's going to help bring people out to the dinner to learn who the teachers are. So it'll be nice in May when we can celebrate everybody in person, hopefully. If not, we'll probably do it the way we did again this year, and then the following year do it in person. We're just going to have to wait and see. But things are going well.
Thank you very much.
WITF has been a wonderful host, and they are just delighted to have the event and the partnership with District 7390, and F&M College is the overall sponsor. So it's a really nice event. I hope you'll all come in May when we send out the invitations. Any questions?
Hearing none, Janice, thank you so much for your work on that. That's an important thing
Sure.
that you do at the district level. So thank you very
I
much.
should say that there's a winner from every county that we represent. So that's how we did it. So that every county has a winner, and I would hope that would encourage clubs from all the counties to come and support them.
That's wonderful. Yeah, my wife is a teacher, so I think I'm going to nominate her for the 2021, see how that goes.
Good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you for the opportunity.
thank you. The last thing that I want to make sure we get talked about here, and we're a little bit over time, is the district conference. We're going to be, so the district conference was scheduled for April 30th, May 1 and 2 at Kalahari, the world's largest indoor water park located in the Poconos. That is now not going to happen the way that we had envisioned it, and likely will not happen in Kalahari at all. We're in negotiations with Kalahari for our deposit and or breaking our contract. And we feel like we're coming to a resolution with them. And the three districts that we were working, the two other districts that we were working with are the southern part of the state, right? So it's the Philadelphia, the Montgomery County, Chester County area, along with the Reading area. And those districts are still excited about doing an event with us. And so the event, the joint conference will still occur. We're thinking through options on how to pull it off in a way that is a little bit different this year. We're thinking that it may be a blend of service projects that have happened throughout the southeastern part of the state, in conjunction with international speakers that we can bring in over Zoom. So we have about 20 volunteers from across the three districts working to make that happen for us this year. We're very excited about that. If anybody would like to be part of the creation of that event, you are certainly welcome. The meetings are all happening via Zoom. So that's where we are with that. We are still going to be holding it on that weekend, so please block that off on your calendar. That is April 30th, May 1 and 2 of 2020. Something very cool will be happening. Any questions on the conference? So we're a little bit past 8 o'clock, but I'd love to open it up for anybody that would like to share anything else or any other feedback that you would care to give the district line team on how to move forward.
Yeah, John, I was going to talk about the upcoming integration of the Rotary Network with the Rotary Means Business Fellowships website. But I put a large bit of information in there to you directly, and just would ask for some more time at the next advisory meeting. Meanwhile, I'll be putting something out in the Rotary Reporter, but all this is going to come to fruition in November when the RI leadership decides on this, and we're going to have a survey in the meantime. So it's all in the brew, and the big news is the Rotary leadership is behind RMB all the way, and especially the president-elect of Rotary, Mehta from India. I think that's his name. I heard him speak at a RMB conclave in India via Zoom, and he was quite, because he wants to raise the Rotary to 1.3 million members next year, and I think he sees RMB as one of the ways to do that. So
make that happen. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you. And when I put up the recording of this, we'll be able to see those comments from the chat. Yes, Una.
Is there anything that you need from us, the leadership team?
Beyond your ongoing support and picking up the phone whenever I call, that to me is golden right there. With all the things that we're trying to get done, having your backing whenever we ask for it is spectacular. And every one of you, whenever I've asked you for anything, you've all said yes, without hesitation. So I'm very grateful for that. I'll put that question out to the DGE and DGN. Is there anything that we want to make sure that we cover here? Any support that we feel like we're lacking?
A shout out to Dennis Zubler. Dennis, I hope you're going to have that trivia contest that you were working on there in Elizabethtown that got sidelined, but because I was ready to go. I really
gonna throw down.
If we can get together live, I'm sure the club's going to want to host it again.
I thought it was a great idea. I was looking forward to it. So
one of the most important things that we do is coming up, and that is the search for the new DGN or the DGND. It begins now, and so I would ask all of you as past district governors that you talk it up at your clubs and talk about how fabulous this role really is. I tell you that one of the greatest things about being, as I walk through this in the beginning anyway, like one of the greatest things has been just talking to new people, meeting, networking, fellowship, calling these presidents a week before their meeting and just having a conversation about their club and feeling their passion has just been awesome. And so I encourage anybody who's interested in playing this role to do so. And so if you could help us talk that up, that'd be great.
John, you're doing a great job, and adapting everything to the virtual setting is, I know it's not the year that you may have envisioned, but you're rolling with everything and riding the waves, so to speak. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a great team.
I second that motion.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, the team has done a great job, and it's been, we have great things to happen yet. So thank you for all your support. We'll be back in touch, I guess, probably 3 months from now in December, January time. In the meantime, we're here if you need us, and we'll certainly reach out too. And thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, John. Well done.
And please see my input in your chat box.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.